The experience of growing up with dyslexia has embedded some deep fundamental beliefs that affect us severely throughout our lives. These beliefs are not who we are, and we have the power to change them. You didn't try hard enough. You're giving excuses. You didn't put the effort in. You're just not as smart. You need to focus more. You should think of an alternative career because you're not going to make it through school. I'm dyslexic today, I can't seem to spell this word. Just saying these things out loud is now making me feel so angry. I feel furious, and it's just really unsettling. If you are dyslexic and listening to me feeling the exact same way, you may need to pause the video, go and scream into a pillow or cry, and that's okay, we all do it. We feel this way because it's what we have been told repetitively growing up, in school, or even in our adult life. We have heard it so much that they have formed fundamental beliefs about ourselves that are simply not true. In this video, I am going to break down how this has shaped the person that I am today, the beliefs that I have had to break and that I'm still working on, and show you how you can work on getting rid of these limiting labels that have been driven into us, and how you can unlock your true worth and potential. So let's start by defining what limiting beliefs are. Limiting beliefs are the stories that we tell ourselves about who we are that hold us back from becoming who we are meant to be. In other words, if I believe that I am not capable of having a conversation with someone, and I am not going to trust myself in that context, I will avoid the situation. I will never learn how to converse or even give myself the chance to prove to myself that I am capable of it. So why do we form these limiting beliefs? Limiting beliefs are caused by a number of factors, but they all stem from the same place. You form these beliefs to protect yourself in the future, and triggers to forming these beliefs can include fear, imposter syndrome, and a lot of the time simply your past experiences. Therefore, knowing the cause of your limiting beliefs is the best way to understand the thought process behind them and begin to break it down. We all have a variety of limiting beliefs that were formed in different contexts and for different reasons, but today I want to share with you beliefs that I thought to be true that have stemmed from being dyslexic and which you can probably relate to. One of my most rooted beliefs is that I am not as smart, and other people always know better than me. I remember thinking this about myself all the time when I was in school. When you're in school, the metric by which you decide whether you're smart or not are the grades that you have. These grades that you get back are directly compared to everybody else in the class. And you will probably also remember that it was always the same students that were at the top of that list. They were the smart students, and if you were anything like me, you always knew that you were in the bottom, because the reward and the gratification was always based on this number system. I was never the student who people came to ask for help, or who was asked for to give some insight. I was the student that people came to help. I had to ask for notes because my textbook was a mess, and I just knew and accepted that I just wasn't as good as everyone else, and I continued to believe that. I believed that so much that I stopped socializing with my classmates. Even in university, I never made friends with anybody who was in the same class as me, because that meant that there was a chance for comparison. It meant that I was going to have to compare myself with them, that we were going to exchange how well we did, and I didn't need that reminder that I was less good than everyone else. So I shut myself off. Other beliefs that have stemmed from being in school is, if I can't read, I'm going to be perceived as stupid, or people are going to make fun of my spelling. And that's because we are taught not being able to spell is really bad. Not being able to read is really bad. These are fundamentals that we are taught that we have to master in order to learn. If you are not capable of reading or writing, then you're not going to be able to get to anything. You're not going to be able to learn, and you're not going to achieve anything. How many times have you written an email and you have postponed clicking on send before reading, rechecking it, respell checking it, Googling each word to make sure that you haven't made a mistake? and then realizing that you have just spent 45 minutes writing a 5-liner email. And we do this because we are afraid of the judgment. When I got a -20 in my spelling test when I was 7, that stuck with me. We do this because we are afraid of the judgment. We cannot trust that other people will be understanding or will let it go, and that they are going to label us as being stupid, as not paying attention, as not putting in that effort. And that is a trigger for us. So we waste 45 minutes replying to a single email. I will never excel at anything, be a leader or be good at my job. I don't have the skill to achieve the same as everyone else. This is something that I believed about myself until recently. The idea of having a job was always so stressful because it meant that I had to meet someone else's expectations. And up until getting my first job, my entire education experience has been a series of not meeting expectations, of not being capable of doing so. So now I'm entering this new journey with the belief that I cannot meet this expectation, that I cannot do a good enough job. And if I can't believe that I will do a good enough job, I won't. And the sooner you understand that that limitation only exists because you are putting it on yourself, the sooner you can break that and actually be good enough, actually excel at those expectations. And this is something that I only learned to do recently. And yes, it makes me angry. Why could I have not have figured this out 7 years ago? Why did I have this fundamental belief engraved in me by other people, by other situations that were not in my own hands? And instead of being given the tools to succeed, I was made to build walls to get in my way. This next one took me a while to realize. If I don't try, I won't fail. The excuse of I didn't do it is less shameful than I did the best that I can and it wasn't good enough. I realized this after putting in so much work in trying to figure out why it was that I wasn't completing any of my projects, that I found it very difficult to see anything through till the end. And I kept being asked, why don't you just finish it? I had done the hard part, why don't I just complete it? And I didn't have an answer other than it feels like too much pressure, or I feel anxious, and I was getting anxiety when I got to that point. And I realized that what was happening when I got to the end of a project or whatever it was I was doing, it meant that it was almost time for someone else to review it or to give me feedback, or even just to see what I had done, and they would form their opinion about my work. And after a while I realized that that is what I was afraid of. It wasn't that I couldn't complete it, but internally I had gotten used to that negative feedback, so my mind is already starting to protect myself for what is about to come. Now, an example of how this was embedded in my beliefs. I had to take a spelling test in school, the same as everybody else. Now, instead of being graded a 0, as in I got no points because every single word was wrong, I was graded a -20. And that told me that my efforts were worth less than having not even tried. Had I not tried and handed in a blank piece of paper, I would have gotten a better grade than what I had when putting in the effort and at least trying. So that stuck with me, and I can think back on several occasions where I simply just said I just didn't do it because it was worth more than me putting in the effort. Because a lot of the time, the more effort I would put in, I was told I needed to put more. And the last belief I will touch on today: there is no point explaining, no one will understand. I realized at a very early age that I thought differently from other people. I saw the world from a different angle. I noticed things that other people didn't seem to either understand or pay any importance to. So that made me different. But I also knew that what made me different also meant that I wasn't doing so well, that compared to other people, I didn't seem to know the right answers. So why would they believe anything that I say? Why would they take interest in looking at something differently when they already have the right answer? So what happened is that I lost that confidence. I started embodying and accepting what I was told. That what I did wasn't right. I simply wasn't good enough. Maybe I wasn't putting in enough effort. And that continued to enforce all of these beliefs onto myself. And now, because we don't share, and because we are not given the space to talk about these things or feel like it's okay, or even explore what it is that our minds are capable of, we feel alone in it. Because if we're not talking about it, then the next person who's going through the exact same thing, who might also be in your class and who's dyslexic, is not going to open up and talk about it. Because it's not encouraged, it's a bad thing. So each one of us feels completely alone in this situation. So now that I have identified my limiting beliefs and I know where they come from, how do I break them? First off, it's important to understand that you can get better at anything if you really want it. Whether it's a new skill or a personal challenge, if you work hard enough at something, you will get better at it. Now, in order to do that, you have to allow yourself to believe that you can change. Your thoughts and your beliefs shape your reality. So if you believe that you can't change, then you won't. Think about how much of your potential you're turning into a skill set. Are you tapping into your fullest potential? Are you holding back? And why are you holding back? Are you not worth giving yourself the best chances? You may be telling yourself right now that this is all good, but I can't change from one day to the next. And I'm going to tell you that that is a fundamental belief that you need to break. Change happens the moment you decide for it to happen. If you decide that your spelling is no longer going to define how valuable you are or how smart you are, then when you're sending that next email, you will catch yourself overthinking and hit that send button. Or now that I've realized why I find myself struggling to finish my projects, when I catch myself procrastinating, I make a decision in that moment to push through, and that change happens immediately. In that moment, you have to interrupt your patterns. Pattern interruption is interrupting a limiting belief by doing something different than what you did last time. And this will help to shift your perspective and open up these new possibilities. So don't let your limiting beliefs hold you back any longer. Take control of your life. Take control of who you are and unlock your full potential. Don't let anyone else define who you are and what you are capable of. You know what you're capable of, and you need to give yourself a chance. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.